When the Steelers drafted Jack Lambert out of Kent State, he carried barely 200 pounds on his 6'4" frame. The fledgling linebacker might not have made it in Pittsburgh's nest, but for the unlikely inspiration of Oakland's Mad Stork.
Everybody said, "Oh, Jack, you know, you're a good football player, but you don't weigh enough. You've got to be at least 235, 240 to play." Well, I just couldn't put the weight on. He was a great hope for me because when I saw him go into the pros, he was tall and skinny, like I was.
An injury forced Lambert into the starting lineup immediately, to the shock of his veteran teammates.
To look at Lambert, he doesn't look like a middle linebacker. At 6'5", 218 pounds, he doesn't pass the eye test. But he could play.
Jack Lambert.
Steelers linebacker Jack Lambert was an icon of the Steelers City, who won the number 8 spot on our list and a bust in the Hall of Fame.
And the amazing thing about Jack Lambert is he wasn't very big.
One of the Steelers administrative people looked at him, said, "Who's that?" They said, "That's our number 2 pick." And he goes, "Whoop, another wasted pick."
The only thing wasted was Lambert's opponents.
How could he do that? He's a skinny rail.
I think he did 2 sets of bench presses. I think he did 2 sets of curls, lit a cigarette, and walked.
Jack was one of those guys that was in on a lot of tackles.
If that hole was there, he was in the hole, he made the tackle. None better than Jack Lambert to do that. And Jack Lambert was a wonderful football player.
There's a big difference between athletes and football players. Lambert had an instinct for the game that was unique.
It came from the floor up. I mean, he tried to run through you.
No one wanted to be hit by Jack Lambert, but everybody was hit by Jack Lambert.
He just had a relentless competitiveness.
You could see it in his eyes.
He was an enforcer.
Jack Lambert is so mean, he doesn't even like himself.
I don't care that my opponents like me. I care that they respect me, though.
With those steely eyes, with the Dracula fangs.
He looks like Count Dracula in cleats. And nobody's approach to football is more basic.
He had the look. You know, everybody knows the Lambert look. Limited teeth. And I turned around and I looked at the guy. And when I realized he took his thing out, he didn't have any teeth up front. I went, wow. So, that got really mean.
He was a guy that was always trying to jaw with other people, but he backed it up.
Lambert had some choice words for Ram running back Wendell Tyler, a full transcript of which is available for mature audiences only.
He was just going to do everything he could to make you feel pain until he heard the whistle.
This approach
differed dramatically from the fiery Kent State product who would come to symbolize the Steel City.
Jack Lambert was the single most intimidating force in football.
And cool your ass off.
And maybe the single most intimidating force in the history of football.
He epitomized the intensity the fans felt.
Interference! Oh, you asshole!
You know, with the no front teeth and just his Clint Eastwood ways.
What you've seen of Jack Lambert,
Holy mackerel!
what you've heard about his reputation is all true. But the ferocity that made Lambert both feared and fabled wasn't a complete picture.
His image as being this rock'em sock'em kind of guy had little to do with why he was so successful. The guy was just a very smart, very technically proficient player who could anticipate what was going to happen.
Well, Jack Lambert was a great linebacker. Played at Kent State in college with my older brother, Daryl. And I knew Jack a little bit in college from my brother, Daryl. And so when he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers and I played for the Cincinnati Bengals, we got along well. As a matter of fact, Jack and one of my former teammates, Boobie Clark, they used to go at it all the time. And he'd hit Boobie Clark and he'd have Boobie Clark on the ground. He might kick him or something just to give him a little extra hit. And they'd get to going and arguing and the whole works. But when Jack would tackle me, normally, he'd help me up. Well, there's a story that I always tell about Jack Lambert, and that story goes that we were playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Jack always had a lot of success at stopping our in sweeps. I mean, He was tall, rangy, long arms, and he could get to the outside real quick, and he had a tremendous amount of success stopping our end sweeps. Well, our coaches put in a special play designed for us to get around the Pittsburgh Steelers corner, and the play was called a toss sweep to the fullback from the one-back formation, and all that really means is that the fullback would be the only back lined up in the backfield, halfback position, which I played. I would line up wide to the right at a flanker back position, and my job was to go into motion and try and execute what we call a surprise crackback block on the Pittsburgh Steelers' great middle linebacker Jack Lambert. If I would do that, then that would really clear the right side of the field so that the fullback could get the pitch out and have clear sailing around the end. Well, we got in the game against the Steelers, and we tried all kind of things and didn't have much success at all, so coaches finally called the new play, which was toss sweep to the fullback. And I was in the game at the time. Kenny Anderson was quarterback. Pete Johnson, my former teammate here at Ohio State, was at the fullback spot, and we ran this play, and Kenny sent me into motion, ball was snapped, and I went at Jack with a great deal of intensity, and I caught him with a great block. Hit him with the best block of my entire professional career. Pete Johnson got the pitch out, ran the ball for about 25 yards. Play was a great success. Went back to the huddle feeling real good about what I had just done, and teammates started patting me on the back, congratulating me on the head, and I'm feeling good about it because Jack had been hitting me all day, and I had a chance to tee off on him, took full advantage of it. I got back to the huddle. To my surprise, the next play called was the same play, toss sweep to the fullback from the one-back formation. Well, we broke the huddle. Kenny Anderson, quarterback, Pete Johnson, fullback. I'm in the game at the halfback spot, so I lined up wide to the right again. When I got out there wide to the right, I looked down inside to see where Jack was lined up because I wanted to make sure that I would take the same approach to him that I had taken the play before. Well, when I looked down inside, I noticed that Jack was staring right back at me. So I quickly turned my head and looked upfield because I didn't want to give away what I was going to do. Well, our quarterback, Kenny Anderson, he started calling the signals again. He sent me into motion. The ball was snapped. As soon as the ball was snapped, I went after Jack with the same intensity that I'd gone after him to play before. This time I got right into his face, ready to explode into another great block. But wham! He hit me with a forearm that you cannot believe. Lifted me up, put me flat on my back, went across the line of scrimmage, and tackled Pete Johnson for a 3-yard loss. Well, after the play was over, I was still lying on the ground because Jack had hit me so hard he had put me in a daze. And Jack saw me lying there, and he walked over to me, stood over top of me, looked down at me, and he said, "Griffin, if you ever try to block me again, I'll bite your head off." Well, I crawled back across the line of scrimmage, got into the safety of my own huddle. When I got into the safety of my own huddle, I stood up and I yelled. I said, "Yeah, Lambert, if you do, you'll have more brains in your stomach than you've got in your head."
Over time now, there's kind of become this understanding that small running backs have an advantage because a lot of times linebackers can't see into the backfield. His height at middle linebacker may have been a positive in the reverse. He may have had a better view of what the offense was doing, and that might explain why he seemed always to be one step ahead of things. He just seemed to make every tackle. If the best player in the middle of the field is making all the plays on the best team, maybe this is the best defender in the league. On a team of the decade. I don't know even who's number 2 for the idea of being the middle linebacker on that roster.
I came out, and the tackle came on me right now, and I stuffed him.
You had him stuffed like this.
I stuffed him.
All the way back across.
He dipped in, went back outside, and was around the corner before I could even get off the block.
He was an extremely intellectual linebacker, which I don't think was the association with him at the time, probably because he was toothless, and probably because he looked kind of like a madman. His greatest strength was his mind. So he's like John Rambo, I guess. He was certainly the most intimidating player on a pretty intimidating team.
Legend has it, he ate glass and pounded his head against lockers before waging war. He announced on a Monday night game that he hailed from Buzzard's Breath, Wyoming. He decreed that all quarterbacks should wear dresses. He was Count Dracula in cleats, the remorseless linebacker for Pittsburgh, Transylvania.
Double wing right, ace!
That'll cool your ass off.
In high school, John Harold Lambert was a skinny quarterback and sharp-elbowed basketball player. However, in 1974, the Steelers picked him as a backup outside linebacker. Ham and Russell were fixtures there, but when inside linebacker Henry Davis was injured, a terror was unleashed. He stood 6'3" and weighed only 204 as a rookie, the exact size as Jet wide receiver Al Toon. Still, his toothpick legs always got his toothless face to the ball. In a game of angles and position, he never took the wrong step, and he was always the most focused man on the field. Every season, he led the team in tackles. For 9 straight years, he bashed his way to the Pro Bowl. Eventually, the kid the Steelers took a chance on was chewing out all pros like Jack Ham.
The middle linebacker is supposed to be the leader. I could never understand why some people had to be motivated. And I tried not to yell and scream too much, but sometimes when we were playing very poorly, you know, I felt that a few words were necessary, and that's usually when I did my yelling and screaming.
Interference! Oh, you asshole!
I never looked at professional football as a popularity contest. I look at it as my job. I don't care that my opponents like me. I care that they respect me, though.
Number 58 considered it his job to hit someone on every play. When one of his teammates received an out-of-bounds cheap shot, Lambert had another job to perform. He raced the length of the bench to exact the punishment. He thought it his duty to teach the Browns a lesson because as a kid he loved them, and they didn't draft him. But it was in Super Bowl X when Captain Jack first earned his reputation as an intimidator and enforcer.
It wasn't something that I sat down and planned to do. You know, I didn't think about things out there, I just reacted. And the Cliff Harris incident in the Super Bowl out there, I never thought about doing something like that, but I saw him whacking Roy on the helmet, I turned around, and I just grabbed him and threw him down, and it just happened just like that. I think sometimes I got the feeling people thought I was a dirty football player, and that always bothered me because I never went out and tried to hurt anybody or anything like that. Now, I could play any way you wanted to play it. I mean, we had some guys out there that from time to time that wanted to do some things that weren't legal, and I can do that too if I have to. But I'd rather play by the rules and play fairly. But I don't think that you intimidate. You know, there's no cowards out there in that field, buddy.
Today, there's a new field for Jack Lambert, and that's in Alliance, Ohio, where he spends his summers molding intelligent linebackers and responsible citizens.
Good stretch today, good stretch. Last full day of camp, we don't want any pulled muscles now.
Come on, guys, quiet today.
All right. Good job. That's what you've got to go over in your mind every single time. When you say 5-2 mo cover 1 and break, you don't go stand at the line of scrimmage and see if there's any pretty girls in the stands over there, okay? You've got to be thinking out here. You can be average if you want to be, but if you want to be a great football player, you've got to concentrate and you've got to have the right intensity, okay? A couple times out here yesterday when we were playing, some of you guys, and I got a little bit angry, but I get excited when I play. You got to get excited when you play football. You got to, all right? You got to be excited. If you don't want to get excited out here, then you got to go play tennis or something like that. You should take pride in the fact that you're one of the very few people in the world that can do what you're doing, play in the National Football League. And you should go out here and try and be the best you can be, you know, game after game. And hopefully when it's all over, you can look back on your career and be proud of it, you know, as I am of mine.
But our number 8 tackler's most notorious play occurred after the whistle blew.
On to sunny Super Bowl X against the Dallas Cowboys.
Craziest game I ever watched.
At that point in the game, the Cowboys had kind of had the better of it early in the game. Roy Girella attempts a field goal and misses it. Cliff Harris, who's rushing, sees the kick go wide, and he pats Girella on the helmet as if to say, hey, thanks. And he goes back and he grabs Cliff Harris and throws Cliff Harris on the ground.
Jack Lambert was after Cliff Harris.
Jack Lambert kind of put him in his place.
Well, now Lambert's walking by. Here's Harris telling him something and grabs the kicker
And Lambert at 6'5" works him over.
Nobody came to Cliff Harris's defense on the Dallas side.
Did it change the energy on the field? Absolutely it did. They became the intimidators again.
The Steelers won the game, and Lambert won a spot on our...
Jarrella just missed his second field goal. Now Lambert's walking by. Here's Harris telling him something and grabs the kicker. And Lambert at 6'5" works him over.
No one left a deeper impression on Dallas than Jack Lambert. Trailing 10-7 in the third quarter, the Steelers missed a field goal. When Cowboys safety Cliff Harris taunted kicker Roy Jarrella, Lambert responded.
I thought that was right on time, and I'm glad Lambert did that.
I think the message sent was thunderous. No one's going to intimidate any of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you don't understand that, we're going to show you that. It helped further define what Pittsburgh Steeler football, Jack Lambert, is all about. It was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And I don't know what Cliff was thinking.
During his 11-year career, Lambert won Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive MVP awards. He made 9 straight Pro Bowls and was the man in the middle of the steel curtain for 4 Super Bowl wins.
That'll cool your ass off.
It's possible that Jack Ham was a greater outside linebacker than Lambert was as a middle linebacker. But I don't imagine opponents fearing Jack Ham the way they would fear Lambert.
Lambert's difficult, period, with anybody.
I can't tell you that Jack and I are the best of friends. I remember he came in the locker room, it's towards the end of our rookie season, and Jack just stopped for a moment, and he looked over and he goes, "Hey, Swan." I look up and I go, "Yeah, Jack, what's up?" He goes, "You should have been number 2. I should have been number 1. And he just walked away.
Pretty much every play, the quarterback was staring directly at Lambert, who had not only this very scary appearance, but this incredibly active appearance.
First snap I ever took. I mean, Jack Lambert staring across me in Pittsburgh, my first regular season, and Jack Lambert's across, playing middle linebacker, and no teeth. He's snarling, he's spitting, he's yelling at me, and I'm going, "God, you can have all the money back. You can just blink me out of here right now. I'll go beat an accountant." But that was pretty intimidating, seeing him and realizing what the NFL was all about. But there's no question, that first year it was frustrating.
Can't help but wonder if they may not run or try to run against that pass-oriented defense, but not this time.
Sipe, ooh, a late hit, and the flags go down. Lambert is arguing, but he didn't need to hit the quarterback Sipe. Sipe with him. Boy, look at him go now. Yeah, we told you, the rivalry intense, the feelings are very high. Another flag goes down. Lambert may have been hit with 2, and Jack better watch out or he may be out of the game.
We've had some fisticuffs here before, and one place I don't think Jack Lambert wants to start some trouble is right in front of that Cleveland bench. They don't like him anyway. Lambert, I agree, Dick, is not only an emotional player, but made a bad choice there. Quarterback obviously going out of bounds, obviously in the grass and on his way to the ground. We'll give you a look at it at home, let you decide for yourself. Sipe gets back against the 3-man rush now, and watch him sift up through the rush. White to the outside, they're coming up, Joe Green inside. He still has no one to throw to, ducks the ball. Now he's going out of bounds and down, obviously spearing, and even though Lambert was not that late getting in there, his intent was to put some damage on that quarterback, and that's what the call was for. Intentional roughness, unnecessary roughness.
Just as Bradshaw was protected by the call, or at least that was the intent when he was hit late by Mitchell, so it is, and I believe Lambert may be out of the game. We'll see. Haggerty marking off the penalty, 15 yards to the 30 and a first down. Here's the word.
Personal foul. Pittsburgh.
He's going out. Lambert apparently has been ejected from the game.
Well, either he's been ejected or perhaps Chuck Noll is...
Number 58 is disqualified.
Yes, he is. You're right. Boy. I think Chuck Noll went over and laid a couple of words on Lambert. Didn't make Lambert too happy.
Oh, he's so angry he could bite the metal right out of that face mask. He could just chew it up.
Let's watch the play that Lambert is ejected from. You see him running now. Now watch right at the end of it. Obviously, Sipe is going out of bounds. The tackle already made by Taves. Now the spearing right there. You don't see the intent, but obviously Lambert rolled him with the knees and the elbows. And little talk over there with Chuck Noll and Lambert, who's still hot under the collar. But he's not going to do his team any good on the sideline, Dick.
That's right. And I believe that he might have survived the game had he not gone back to argue.
Do you think there should be any rules changes for the safety of the quarterback?
Well, it might be a good idea to put dresses on all of them. That might help a little bit. I got called last week for a late hit on Brian Sipe, and in my opinion, it wasn't a late hit.
I made the comment earlier that we should put dresses on quarterbacks. Got a lot of play out of that one, but I meant it.
Quarterbacks couldn't skirt past Lambert, who became a frequent visitor to opposing backfields and a permanent fixture in Steelers lore.
Pittsburgh likes to sort of perceive itself as having a certain kind of toughness, having a certain kind of team. Lambert really represents that, and there's never going to be a guy who replaces that in Pittsburgh. He will always be perceived as the greatest personification of what Steeler football is supposed to be like. That's what Lambert represents. The Steelers at their highest point.